Edwina Robertson is most well known as the Queen of the Dust, but since my chat with her, I think she's also Queen of the Ice, which of course is very different to being the Ice Queen. We chatted about everything from her accidentally finding her gift for photography to her recent trip to Mt Kosciusko and all the exciting adventures she has planned for her future. I loved Edwina's rawness. She's a strong woman who isn't afraid to show her vulnerability, and I hope you enjoy her story as much as I did hearing it. Edwina, thank you so much for giving me some time out of your busy life.
My pleasure,
today.
Kelly.
And I'm so looking forward to talking to you, and I have so much I want to chat with you about. But I want to start with the Queen of the Dust and how all that came about, because you know, so many times we go through really difficult times, and out of those difficult times can come something really great. So you were having a difficult time and a bit of a challenging, sad time when you started Queen of the Dust. So tell me how it all came about.
Yes. So in 2012, I was in a relationship. I was 27 at the time, and at that age I thought, this bloke, you know, he's the one, he's the guy I'm going to end up with. And when we were dating, he was working, I was living in Brisbane, he was working in the Pilbara. He was fly in, fly out. And he made the decision that he would come back to the East Coast and live where he worked. So we had plans to move down to Orange in New South Wales. And I ran a real estate photography business at the time, and I didn't like it, to be honest. I really didn't like it at all. It was hard work, and I was always struggling to get paid from real estate agents, and it was a uphill battle, that business. And so this was a great opportunity for me to get out of that business and move interstate and start afresh and, you know, live together and continue our lives together. I packed up my house in Brisbane, closed down my business. I sold part of it off, but predominantly closed it down. And then 2 weeks before we moved, I found out he was cheating on me. So it was a really hard time. I went into depression pretty much straight away. Was diagnosed with clinical depression. I went back to the family's property in Glen Innes in northern New South Wales. I went back for about 4 months, and I didn't get out of bed for at least the first 2 months. It was really hard. And, you know, I guess I had no purpose. I had no job. I'd sort of moved out of my house. Everything had just sort of came tumbling down very quickly. So I then... so that was at the end of 2012, and around March 2013, I literally woke up one morning and I thought, I need to have some purpose in my life. I need to go back out there, get work, you know, give myself a reason to get out of bed every day. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I actually wrote a list of things that I wanted out of a career. So instead of going, I want to be a nurse or I want to be a teacher or, you know, whatever else, I went, well, what do I want out of my career? So I wrote this list, and on that list was, I wanted flexibility in my work. So I didn't want to work 9 to 5. I wanted to work, you know, like a Monday or a Friday afternoon and have that flexibility. I wanted uncapped income. So I didn't want a salary. I wanted, however hard I worked is how much money I made. I wanted to travel the world at other people's expense, because who doesn't want that? So that's what I really wanted to do. I wanted to travel, but I wanted other people to pay for it. And at the time I thought, you know, maybe in 5 years I'll have a family or, you know, be married or have a young family. And I still want to be a full-time mum, but have the option to work 1 or 2 weekends a month and still earn an income. So then I wrote a list of all the things I could do that ticked off my career must-have list. And literally that is how I became a wedding photographer. So I'd never shot a wedding, I'd never had any formal training, and I started a Facebook page, and that's how that came about. And here we are 9.5 years later.
Yeah. And, you know, it just goes to show, Edwina, even if you don't know what you're doing, which is a little bit like me starting life journey as well, you just have to make that start, and then things come to you and things fall into place, and then you get a bit of, you know, confidence and you get going, and you know what you went through, it's demoralising, isn't it? And you know, probably went through a lot of feelings of, lack of self, wouldn't have had any
self-worth.
self-worth.
Absolutely.
And that's really hard to climb out of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's so funny, Kelly. It was a long time ago now, but I look back and I think that was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah, and how many times do you hear that?
Yeah.
And thank goodness you found out when you did, because
before moving into state and then finding out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look, we were relatively young, and I don't hold any grudges, but it's been a blessing for me.
Yeah.
It really has, because becoming a wedding photographer and all those things on my list, except the husband and children part, I achieved in the first 2 years, and I gave myself 5 years to do that. So, it was wonderful, and I had to really go through that low to get to that high.
Yeah, I think Geordie wants
he loves a bit of attention. Would you like to ask some questions, Geordie?
Oh, gosh. So now one of the things I really want to ask you about, because you must have just about had a nervous breakdown, when you put the photo up.
The viral photo.
The viral photo of the dust. So tell me about that, because I was doing my figures last night and worked out how much you ended up having to find.
Yes. So, that was in 2015, September 2015. So I'd been shooting weddings for about 2.5 years, and that was really a catalyst for everything else that's kind of happened in my life since. So the last nearly 6 years has been quite phenomenal. So what happened was I'd shot a wedding in Blackall in Western Queensland, and at that particular time in 2015, Blackall had been in drought for 4 years. So I ventured up to Blackall, shot this wedding, and it was kind of bittersweet because the bride's family was from Blackall, and only 4 or 5 weeks before the wedding, they had fully destocked. So, obviously destocking a whole property, no income, that's pretty tough. But then they had their daughter's wedding, so this beautiful time to celebrate. And within the town, I saw a lot of, I guess it was this wedding when it came to Blackall, it was really hopeful it brought a lot of hope to a lot of the community, and it was a really nice sort of time that they could not focus on what was happening day to day. And when I left Blackall after shooting that wedding, I really had some time to sort of process what I'd seen and think about what it meant to have no income because of the weather and the environment. And I wanted to share my experiences to others in Australia that didn't really understand what it's like to live in drought for 4 years. And so I popped this photo of this wedding party that were walking across a dusty cricket pitch, which looks like a dust bowl, basically, in Blackall. And then I shared how drought affects people. So mentally, financially, how it affects the community, when the community starts to dwindle, the numbers, all these sorts of things. And I thought, I had around 4,500 followers on Facebook at that time. And I thought, you know what, if 100 people share this story, that might be another 1,000 people that hear about it, and that would be great. So I gave a bit of an incentive with the post. So I said, for each share of this post over the next 24 hours, I'll personally donate $3 to Type the Black Dog, which is a charity based in Gundawindi, which help communities deal with mental health and depression. Kelly, I honestly thought it would get shared 100 times. That's what I thought. I was like, 100 times, it's nothing. 24 hours later, it had been shared 4,975 times. So if you round that up, that's 5,000 times. And oh my goodness, did I feel all the emotions in that 24 hours? Hot sweats, laughing, crying. It was a roller coaster. But yeah, so that was $15,000 I donated to that charity. But from that, and this is really the creme de la creme of that situation, that circumstance, and what happened was I was interviewed on CNN International News, it was in the New York Times, it was on all these blogs, all over mainstream media in Australia, and it brought so much awareness to people who had no understanding what drought, to live in 4 years of drought meant. And unfortunately it went for another 4 or 5 years. Yeah. So that was just halfway for them. But and that was the beautiful thing. It brought awareness to what it's like to live within a community that is suffering.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was a pretty pretty profound and pretty cool time. I had the quickest lesson in PR I'd ever had in my whole life.
And I'll bet you though, because I think there's 3 women behind Tie Up the Black Dog.
Yes, yep, that's right.
And I can just imagine when they found out, they would have just been over the moon.
It was big for them. And then, we actually had a ball. So that was in September, and then we had a ball in February. And that raised, I think, another 30 or 40,000. And then on top of what I donated, I raised another 25,000. So it helped a really good cause. Yeah. It really did.
Yeah, that's awesome. So after that, I think it was 2017, you took off around Australia.
Yes.
So tell me about that, because Geordie went with you.
Yes, Geordie came with me, the human dog. In 2017, it was actually in 2000 and it was actually at the end of 2015. So 18 months prior before I left in 2017, I watched the movie Tracks by Robert Davidson. Actually, it was the book first, as all good movies are. Yeah. So Robin in her 70s, I think she was around 27. She walked with 3 or 4 camels. She walked from Alice Springs across to Broome by herself. And it took her 4 months or 5 months or something like that. And I was so inspired by her adventure and her journey. And I thought, wow, I would love to do something like that that's more modern day. Obviously, this is 40 years later. So I then thought I could go around Australia, but I'd take no money. So I'd have to barter my skills as a photographer for food, fuel and accommodation. So I purchased an old Toyota Land Cruiser Shorty 40. Her name was Alice. And packed my dog up and packed the car, and in 2017 hit the road and did a lap of the map for 100 days and blogged about my journey and shared what happened and learned a lot about myself. In that time I rolled Alice about 3 weeks into the trip, so I had barely even changed a tyre in my life prior to this trip. So I had to learn really quickly mechanics of a car and how a car worked, which was a great personal experience. And I stayed with some amazing people, saw some amazing sights. It was challenging, not having any money and having to rely on others. For someone who's quite independent, that was a huge personal challenge for me. It was an incredible experience. I wouldn't do it again. I get asked that all the time. And I think it was about sharing what it's like to live in the bush and the challenges and logistics of that, even things like people not understanding that people get their mail delivered by plane, or people have to fly their groceries in, or they can't just drive 50 k's down the road to Woolies. One day I drove 600 kilometres, didn't see another car. Yeah. It's a long way.
How scared were you? Because I've seen photos of Alice and she wasn't really the most reliable looking vehicle.
No, she was actually reliable, but she wasn't safe. 1979, they didn't have airbags, and she didn't even have aircon. Look, she had a roll bar. I never felt unsafe in the car. Yeah. There was a couple of times. It was on Territory Day, so the 1st of July, or Cracker Day they call it, in the Northern Territory, and I had this kind of rule where I never drove at night and I always tried to arrive at least by sunset kind of thing. But that day I left Alice Springs a little bit later and I was heading towards Tennant Creek, and I was driving along and I could see, and I was going up the Stewart Highway, so terribly long straight stretch of highway for hundreds and hundreds of kilometres. And behind me I could see some lights, and I thought that was a truck, because it could have been 5 k's behind me for all I knew. It was the lights, seemed so dim. And I could see these lights, and then the lights disappeared, and I thought, that's weird, maybe they pulled over or something. Anyway, I kept driving, and a few minutes later, all of a sudden I got these high beams at the back of my car, right up my arse in my car, and I nearly drove off the road, and I thought, oh my God, what's this? And I realised it wasn't a truck because the lights weren't that strong, but then these people started playing chicken with me on the road. And it's about 8 o'clock at night, and I was thinking through my head, okay, what happens if they push me off the road? What happens if I have a car accident? What am I going to fight with? I had pepper spray in my car that I illegally imported from America. No, just for some safety. Yeah. I had a metal bar. I had my dog. So I thought of every different circumstance of what could happen if they chose to, do something malicious, of how I would survive. I I had no phone service, but I texted in my phone what the car was like, what rego, what colour, how many people were in it, because I kept sort of driving up beside me and then in front of me, then behind me. They were just playing chicken with me. They were drunk. Anyway, I thought I'll just throw my car out the window and someone will find that and then they'll be able to see the details of the car. Because I had a sat phone, but I didn't have time to pull over and I wasn't going to pull over. Anyway, they just sort of mucked around with me and then they eventually got bored and drove off, but I was petrified.
They would have been having a bit of fun.
Yeah.
People don't realise how terrifying that is for people. And and they were just drunks, but it was isolated. Oh, yeah. Like this is on the same stretch of road that, what's her name, Joanna. And Peter Falcone.
Peter Falcone got taken, not far from there. So obviously that's in the back of my mind. Yeah. But I think you've just got to trust your intuition. Kelly, your spidey senses. Yeah. I trust it and it's amazing when you get in that mode and you feel unsafe, how many different things come to your head of what you can do. Yeah. I think I remember even writing the number plate with my finger on the windscreen because that wouldn't have been shown to the naked eye, but obviously if something happened and God forbid forensic scientists came, they would be able to, with that powder, I've watched enough of Law and Order. They'd be able to see the number plate. So the oil of my fingers.
Yeah, that's so clever. You were talking about you had the weapons you had. You mentioned Geordie. Yes. I hate to tell you, but knowing Geordie, I don't think he would have been much help, would he?
No, you'd be surprised. Really? He's so protective of me. Yeah. I had an asthma attack once when I lived in Toowoomba and the ambulance came and they always say when an ambulance comes, lock any animals in a spare room if they're inside. And I don't know how that dog didn't bite the door down. He was going ballistic because I was obviously stressed. Yeah. I think he's got a bit of pound dog in him, so he's cute and cuddly, but he's actually got a bit of bite in him. I think if someone was to have a go at me. Yeah.
I'm sure
he's got a big bark on him, actually.
I can tell how much he loves you. Yeah. He stares up at you.
Yeah, no, he does. He adores me, which is lovely.
So, Edwina, when you were going around, 60 Minutes got hold of the story and Charles Woolley came out and travelled with you a bit. So what was that experience?
Yeah, that was incredible. It's something I don't share often, but I think it's really cool. Just at the beginning of the journey, I actually got asked to be on Landline to share my story. And at that particular time, I actually got unwell. It was about a week before I left and I got unwell and I couldn't film it because I was so sick. And then they just dismissed it and I was so disappointed. I thought, I'm so disappointed. I had this awesome opportunity to be on national TV for my trip. Landline, how cool would that be? And I just had to let it go. And I felt really disappointed and I don't cancel on anything. So that was really hard for me to say no to that particular opportunity. But then 2 months in, 60 Minutes reached out. Wow. And I spent a week in Alice Springs with Charles Woolley and filmed this 13-minute segment for national TV, which was incredible, such an incredible opportunity. And I think back now how disappointed I was that I didn't get an opportunity to go on Landline, but something better fell in its place because I had such a wider audience of people I could be seen by and not just rural people, metropolitan areas and communities as well. So just trusting the process. Sometimes things don't turn out the way we want, but they sometimes turn out better.
Yeah, that's true because I know sometimes I worry about something and then that passes and then something better
falls
and
in
I look
its place.
back and I think, well, there was no need to worry.
Yeah. And I actually have on my phone, Kelly, it's a little thing that says, trust the timing of your life. Yeah. Just trust it. Yeah. So
I do. I love this quote of yours, comparison is the thief of all joy. And I feel like going through your Instagram page, you're just such an open book. And so I'm wondering for you, how important do you see that openness and honesty about all your ups and downs in your life? Like how important is that for you?
So important. I have a following. So I think my following's around 24,000 on Instagram and I use that quite frequently. And I have a lot of young, influential women that follow me. A lot, like my female to male ratio is about 92% females, and they're all between sort of 20 and 35 or 40, most of them. So I have a huge responsibility. You know, with social media, there's, you know, we've got influencers and there's so many people out there just getting their clothes off and you know, it's all about body image and looks. And I just think with influence, you have so much power and you've got to use that for the greater good. And so I feel by sharing my stories and being real, it allows other people to feel the same and to know they're not alone.
Yeah.
And we've had this conversation, Kelly, about, you know, we're all just human. Yeah. We're all having our own human experience. And I share the good and the bad. And it's really funny, actually, because I have a few friends that are influencers and they do fashion, and they might even have, you know, 4 times or 5 times or 6 times the amount of followers I do. But they don't have the actual engagement because a lot of it's just fake. It's like, oh, got these new shoes. Like, it's stuff that doesn't really change lives.
Yeah.
And I take it really seriously. Like, I'm quite lighthearted on my social media. I can pay myself out a lot and really take the mickey out of myself because I think that's who I am. And you either love me or you don't, and I'm okay with that because the people who love me are massive fans, and the people who don't, that's fine. Like, you know, I'm not here to please everybody, but I try and keep it real. And I just think, particularly for those younger women, when you've got all these influencers who are all about their looks and body image and all that sort of stuff, keeping it real helps to keep them grounded and realize that you can still do amazing things in your life, but you don't have to, you know, be wearing a G-string and be topless to do it, you know? So, and that's just me. I'm just not like that. That's just not how I work.
I think being authentic is, you know, and there's so much power in authenticity, and that's what shines through on your page.
Thank you.
So,
yeah, I try to be, so that's good. It's good that I'm doing that. But I just try and keep it real, and you know, I get contacted by so many people, which is amazing. Like, it really is, and it's just. Yeah, it's a huge responsibility. Yeah. But I hope I you know, I don't always get it right, but I do my best to really inspire or just encourage people just to not give a shit about all the fake stuff. Just be yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And that's worth so much more than the last pair of shoes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Edwina, the reason I reached out to you to start with was because you've just done the breathless expedition.
Yes.
So, like, a friend of mine introduced me to Wim Hof back in April, so I've been reading all about him, and I was thinking then, oh, you know, I could do that. I think I'd really enjoy it. And then it got cold at home. I'm thinking, oh my God, there is no way I could do that. And I'd go and I'd walk out into our cold room with no shoes on, and I'd be going, oh no, I'm out of here.
Too cold.
So please tell me all about the breathless expedition.
Yeah, sure. So I actually had booked in to do this last year, but because of COVID and border closures, I couldn't do it. So literally, so I only did it a fortnight ago, but 4 weeks prior to that, I messaged the guy who ran the expedition, and I said, Johannes, I need something for my soul.
So he's learnt from Wim Hof.
Yeah, so he got trained off Wim Hof. Right. He's Dutch South African. He's been in Australia for maybe like 8 years, 9 years. And I said, Johannes, I need something. I'm just at this stage, I sometimes need something to really push my limits a bit and just get back grounded into myself. Because I go all the time, but sometimes I just need something that really kind of like shakes things up a bit. Yeah. Anyway, and he said, oh, look, we've got this trip in the 5th of June. And I was like, great. And then I didn't hear from him for 4 weeks, and so I sort of wrote it off because he does free diving as well. So he was out on Lady Elliot Island and doing all this stuff without reception. And then 2 days before I left, he contacts me going, oh, are you coming this weekend? And I was like, oh, I'm not prepared for this, but okay. So I went down to Mt Kosciusko, and it was for 4 days. And basically over that 4 days, we hiked in minimal clothing. So I wore these the smallest bike pants I could kind of get away with, and a crop top. So basically swimmers. And hiked up Mt Kosciusko at -8 degrees as a group. We swam in water every day that was about 0 to -3 degrees. The hardest thing we did was we trekked for about 500 metres just on a path, but we took our shoes off, and it was around 2 degrees that day, and that was, the pain of that was next level. But it all sounds, to most people it sounds horrible and horrific, but we did a lot of breath work, meditation. So it's all about, there's so much power in the breath and how you breathe. Even sleeping at night, if you learn to sleep, breathe through your nose when you sleep, you have a deeper sleep, so deeper REM and all these things that can restore your body. So I was really interested in that. I've had some health problems. I've got Hashimoto's disease, which is an underactive thyroid, and a few other bits and pieces. I've never been a well person, too much stress probably, but doing this and even breathing for 5 minutes a day really has helped me a lot with my health, with my mental health, with what I can achieve. And doing an expedition like that would push the limits to what I know. It got me outside of my comfort zone. You know, being in -8 degrees in basically bugger all clothing is pretty confronting, but it was incredible. It was life-changing for me. I never felt unsafe. I never felt like anything bad was going to happen. I was with people that I didn't know prior to the weekend and came out making friends for life. And it's something that I think everyone can do. It wasn't as physically as hard as you'd think. It was more mentally hard, challenging.
So how does he prepare you to take that first step out into the snow and then to walk up?
He literally tells you nothing. This is the thing. I'm a control freak. I like to have control of my life. So he'd be going, pack your day bags, this is what you need, and then we'd just go, and he wouldn't tell us. So it was letting go of that control and trusting, trusting the process. I trusted him as a leader. He's an incredible leader. Incredible. Like, there was some times, particularly walking on the barefoot, I was crying because I have terrible circulation. So that was really painful for me. But he, we walked barefoot to this, to Lake Krakenbach, which is at Thredbo. And then we had a swim, and then we got out, and I was so cold I couldn't even get myself dressed, and he came and helped me get dressed and warmed my hands up, and it was amazing. It was really amazing. Like, I think sometimes we have to allow, well, I know for me, I have to allow myself to trust other people. I think I can do it all, but I can't. And, it was some days some people did really well, other days some people really struggled. It was every day your mental sort of headspace was different. It was hard, but it was like, to say you've hiked. I don't hike, Kelly. I'm not a hiker. I hate the cold. I don't like hiking, and I don't like any of my swimmers, and I've done all those 3 things.
So you were going to have a really fun trip right before you left, doing everything that you hated.
But I was so invigorating. Imagine me at the top of Australia's tallest mountain in minimal clothes in winter. Crazy.
So, Edwina, you said it was life-changing. So how? What things?
I think for me, firstly, it's funny because we just spoke about before influencers and social media and body image and body positivity and all this stuff. I still feel insecure about my body. Like I do. I feel insecure about my body. Because I've had health issues, I haven't ever had enough energy to do a lot of exercise. And when I do, it usually sends me to bed for a day. So I do minimal exercise. Like, I'm not unhealthy, but I'm not going to run a marathon tomorrow. But, and I'm very mindful of what I see on social media, but I have insecurities about my body. But after doing this trip, I was like, wow, my body is so strong. It never let me down. I was in -8 degrees. And it kept going. It kept me safe. I respect my body so much more. It's strong. It's capable. It totally changed my outlook on how I see my physical self. And that was I always knew I had those insecurities about my body. I would never probably talk about it, but internally I do. Everyone's got their thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was like, wow. How amazing is that my body, I was probably the unfittest of the whole group, got to the top of Mt Kosciusko first.
Did you?
Yeah,
Wow.
I got, like, we're all together, we're
Yeah,
pretty jam-packed,
yeah.
but yeah, I was like, I was the first one up there. And I was like, that is cool.
Yeah.
And there was some personal trainers in the group, there was fit people.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of nutritionists, a lot of people who work in the health space. I was like, I'm here.
Yeah.
So it just gave me, it's just that respect and that appreciation for my body and what it can do, and to go, you know what? Hey, you know, I might have an extra kilo here or there, but it's capable. Yeah. It's keeping me safe. It's doing what it's meant to do as a body. Yeah. It doesn't have to look a set way. And I think that's a really profound thing. Yeah. Well, it was for me anyway.
Yeah. Oh, I might have to rethink my aversion to the cold.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was cold, but the cold wasn't actually. It's weird. The cold wasn't the hardest thing. It was the mental
thing.
Yeah.
Mental side.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. It was incredible. I'm so glad I did it. Yeah. And I shared it on my social media, and everyone was just like, "You're crazy."
I was following the progress and the process, and I kept imagining the people looking on at you and thinking, oh my goodness, look at those idiots.
Yes.
They have no clothes on.
That's exactly
and
right.
And they would have just thought you were high on drugs or something.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when we did Mt Kosciusko, it was so funny. We took the chairlift up, and at the top there's a hangar with the highest restaurant in Australia up there before you take the walk. And it was so funny because there's all these people up there, sort of just tourists, and we all got in this hangar. We just started stripping off, and everyone was looking at us like, what the hell are these people doing? And that was probably the best part of the whole weekend, looking at their reactions.
Oh, yeah. Because
it was cold. People left, and another group did something similar, left an hour after us and got stuck in a blizzard.
Oh.
They had to get rescued.
Oh, no. Oh, gosh. Wow.
The weather can change like that.
So Wim Hof, like, he's a Dutchman, isn't he?
Yes.
Did he climb Everest or to base camp?
I feel like he did. I can't confirm that, but I think something about Everest. I'm not sure if it's base camp or. Yeah. But obviously in minimal.
Yeah.
Clothes.
So in a shorts.
Yeah, he's got a lot of world records.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
It was so funny. I found the coldest I was when my hands and my feet were cold. Like, when my feet and hands were warm, I wasn't. It's amazing. -8 degrees, 35 knot winds, you know, at, 7,000 feet altitude or something, or close to that. Might have been maybe 7,500 feet altitude. Like, the hardest thing too was breathing, like, because of the cold air and the altitude, but it wasn't actually that cold.
That's nice.
I got colder when I put my clothes back on.
Gosh.
And then I was like, actually, after we did Mt Kosciusko and I put my clothes back on, putting your clothes on, you have this tingling sensation on your skin. It's crazy. Wow. It was that cold. Yeah. But yeah, your body's so capable.
Yeah. Well, one of the things he says, which sticks in my mind for some reason, is let the body do what the body is capable of doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess you've got to, like you said, push yourself out of your comfort zone to find that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, Edwina, you've got some exciting things coming up. So tell me about Field. That's the next.
Oh, yes. So lots of great things happening.
About it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm getting out of weddings at the end of this year. I need a change. It's been a wonderful journey, but I'm not pushing my limits anymore. I'm not growing. I'm not evolving as a person or in business or personally. So starting a fashion label, it's going to be making dresses. Yes, it's called Field the label. And basically it's just really beautiful feminine shapes, particularly for women who have a little bit of shape. So, you know, a bigger bust, like I'm a standard sort of size 10 to 12, but I have a double D bust, and I just really struggle to find clothes that I like to wear that's flat on my figure. Yeah. And it's not necessarily changing the sizing of the style, so it's not like giving excess room in the bust area. It's just making styles that suit that type of womanly body shape. And in pretty prints, because when I go to buy something, I just really struggle. Like, it's I love the print of the fabric, hate the style, love the style, hate the print of the fabric. So hopefully I can collate these two things together and build a wonderful business and have an offering for women who are in the same boat as me.
Yeah, and you studied fashion design when you...
I actually did, so straight out of school. Yeah. And I didn't want to do it then. So when did I finish? 2004. So what are we, 17 years later, here I am. So it's all gone in a big,
isn't it funny
big cycle.
Yeah, that's amazing. Edwina, I said I'm excited, excited because I know, the girls, for instance, will go into Zara or something and they have some beautiful things in there and beautiful fabrics, like you said. And I'll think, I'll just try that on. And then it comes up to here and I'm thinking, and then it's such a shame because
absolutely.
They,
and look, obviously some people can wear midriff, but most people don't want to wear midriff.
No.
And I think you can be stylish. You can still look sexy, stylish. You can look sexy, stylish and classy in one outfit. Yeah. You don't have to get your midriff out. You don't have to have huge cleavage. Yeah. Even, for instance, anything that's V-neck, I actually find that almost sometimes too much because it goes straight to your cleavage. But with Field, the necklines are going to be sort of the key point. So sweetheart neck or a square or a round neck because it's actually more flattering on a bigger bust because you've got more skin show. So it sounds counterproductive, but you've got more skin showing so it's not just... your eye's not drawn straight to the centre of the bust.
Yeah.
So it's actually more flattering on a bigger bust. Yeah. And, there's heaps of women who breastfeed and having children, so obviously their bust size grows with that. So, I think it'll help with a lot of women who really struggle to find flattering styles for their body shape.
I don't have that problem with the bust.
I feel really sorry for you, Kelly. I feel really sorry for you. What a sad thing. No.
I did have them 3 times when I had babies. Gosh. Now, talking about kids, you don't have children of your own, but you've just posted on social media that you've been doing some training and you're going to go into become a foster mum.
Yes.
And I said to you, I'd spoken with Deborah Lamont, who's a foster mum in Claremont and who's had over 40 kids. So I'm so interested in your perspective, your take, and I've just turned 36 a week ago and still single, and I've put so much pressure on myself to go and meet a partner, and that's been happening for at least the last 5 years. And I just heard this ad on the radio nearly a couple of months ago about fostering, and I thought, I need to do that. That's exactly what I need to do. That just felt instantly right for me. It's something I've wanted to do since I was around 11 or 12, but I'd sort of forgotten about that, and I didn't really have a think about that as an option. And so, I'm becoming a foster carer, but initially starting with respite. So the child will have a primary foster carer and I will have the child every second weekend. So I get to do all the fun stuff and do all the fun weekend activities, but I think it's a beautiful way I can give back. Still allows me, if the right man walks into my life, it still allows me to have a relationship and have my own family if I am blessed with that opportunity. But it's just, I didn't know my biological dad. I have a few things from my childhood and I feel like I understand what it's like to have a little bit of trauma and have a bit of an unsettled home. And I think I've done a lot of therapy on myself. I've done a lot of work, work on who I am and my own self-worth, and I just feel like this is right for me at this stage. And if I can bring a little bit of stability and some love into a child's life, then how wonderful would that be? Do you have any idea, or will they be various ages, or have you specified that you don't want babies or toddlers or...
Don't want babies because, oh my goodness, that would be too much for me. I haven't had a lot of, I haven't been around a lot of children. So I think from the age of 4, and you ultimately make the choice of which child you care for. And they did ask me on my last interview a couple of weeks ago, do you want to have, would you prefer a boy or a girl? And initially I said, I don't mind, but now I've been thinking about it. I think I'd like to have a little girl. Like, I think that would be really nice. I don't understand boys at all at any age. And the idea is I'd do that for at least a couple of years, doing the respite care. And if that worked well, then look at long-term care. So I think also too, I have a wonderful life and I'm very blessed in many ways, but I've become quite self-centered. So it's all, I can do whatever I want, Kelly. I just randomly went to Noosa on the weekend. I can come and go as I please. I can sleep in, I can get up, I can do whatever I want. And not that I'm lazy by any means. Like I do a lot with my life and I make the most of it. But I think having a child brings some sense of responsibility and accountability. And I think that would be good for me because I need I need something to be like, okay, well, it's not just about me.
It's really interesting and it's wonderful that you recognise that in yourself because I think when people do live alone, you're right, they become a little bit self-centred without even realising it. And so, it'll be great for you.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And when I first told my friends and family, everyone was like, this is amazing. This is exactly what you need to do. Yeah. They were so supportive about it. And I was like, it just, intuitively it felt right. So, be trained up and ready to go by the new year. So it'll come quickly. It's still, 5 months away, but I really can't wait. Yeah.
Oh, you will be a great little mum.
Oh, thanks, Kelly.
Edwina, there's a beautiful book that I read years ago, and I should actually read it again. But there's a chap in America, Mt Robertson. He wrote a book about natural horsemanship. Yep. He's a really good horseman. But he and his wife have taken in a lot of foster children over the years. So then he wrote a second book, and it's about the philosophy he uses with horses, how he uses the same philosophy with these kids and the difference that he makes in their lives and, giving them accountability and anyway, they really respect him for it. And so I should find the book for you.
I love that.
It's a really good book. And, I read it when our kids were really little and
I would love to read that. I think it's just a beautiful option. I wouldn't have a child biologically by myself. I just couldn't do that. That's a huge thing, and kudos to the people and the women who do that. But I think it's a beautiful option to give back, and there's so many kids out there that need some love.
Yeah, and mothers come in all different types.
Absolutely,
there's not one standard mother, so you'll be a mother to many.
I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, Edwina, in the words of Wim Hof, thanks for your time. Have a nice night or a nice day and a good life.
Thank you so much,
All
Kelly.
the love, all the power. That's how he ends it. So thank you very
my
much,
absolute
Edwina.
pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity.
No, thank you. Thanks so much for watching our video. I hope you enjoyed it. And please try to remember to just click on the subscribe button so we can keep you updated with everything that's happening. Thank you.